Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. For somebody to come up with a headline such as the one on this video, Nelson Chamisa vows to boycott elections without reforms, you have to ask yourself, who is this person? Where have they been? This is what is so shocking about Zimbabwe. We never seem to learn from our own mistakes. Let's just listen to this video clip.
For this gadget, because as much as they are trying so hard to push on propaganda, it's not working. Zimbabweans are wiser and smarter. Okay, so you have seen headline, as we remember, you have seen headline that Chamisa is very clear that he will boycott elections come 2028 without reforms, which again, I'm saying amen, because we have been saying reforms, again, reforms. We can't again play to the gallery of the toxicity of Mnangagwa and his regime. We'll never do that. I mean, the Zimbabwean people are tired of being abused, used, always robbed into a sham of an election. I also don't think that we would accept an election where Chigumba officiate. In my opinion, I don't think so. So we're gonna hear as well people think there's unpaper space, or the analysts from South Africa as well, looking at the military rule in Zimbabwe, which has been causing a lot of problems. I can tell you.
Okay, stop right there. What do you think, Ben?
Good day to you and good day to everybody. I mean, we have been here before. You know, you asked a good question to say, where have you been living? Have you been living on Mars or somewhere, you know, so foreign that you don't understand what is happening in Zimbabwe? I want to draw everybody's attention to, before the 2023 election, there is a video of Chamisa actually saying that they will not participate in that election without reforms. And they did. For the past 24 years, MDC-CCC has been participating in these elections without reforms and knowing fully well that Chigumba, Mnangagwa and company will rig those elections. They knew this. They always say this, you know, we've been down this road before. We need to be the wiser now. We cannot, I mean, I would understand being fooled once, understandable. Being fooled twice. It's over 3-4 times we've been fooled by the same people with the same message. Wake up, Zimbabwe.
Well, in this particular case, let's be clear here. When Chamisa and company participated in elections in the past, they have sent a clear message that they were going to win those elections. Last elections, he participated on the basis that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. In other words, we did not need reforms to be implemented. If you plugged all the vote rigging loopholes, you don't need reforms. And people believed that. Nearly 2 million Zimbabweans participated in last year's elections on the basis that Chamisa had plugged the vote rigging loopholes. This is what people have got to accept. So what she's talking about here, saying that we want reforms, Chamisa is now vowing that he wants reforms. He has changed them. Here is Chamisa adamant that he was going to win the elections and was preparing for a cabinet. Win elections that we had not implemented any reforms.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifo iri. Plan ya Mwari haifo iri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Well, what do you say to that, Ben?
I mean, some of these guys, they're very clever. They tell people what they want to hear. They prey upon people's desperation. And Chamisa is no excuse and is no exception to it. He simply tells people what they want to hear. People are tired of ZANU-PF. And, whatever alternative is presented, people will want to take that. And thus they stop thinking for themselves and they stop, living in the reality. There is no way you can win rigged elections. It is a foregone conclusion. Right now, as we speak, whoever decides to participate in the 2028 election knows already in their head that ZANU-PF is going to win this election.
Well, what I find really annoying about some of these individuals commenting on Zimbabwean election processes is that they are now falsifying, pretending that Chamisa has always wanted to have reforms before elections. Chamisa did not want reforms because he had plugged all the vote-raking loopholes. What they've got to ask, and what Zimbabweans out there must ask themselves, or at least accept, is that Chamisa lied. Why some people find it so difficult to admit that Chamisa lied? These reforms we're talking about, Chamisa and company had the opportunity to implement those reforms during the GNU. They failed to implement even one. That is the reason why they are now, since the GNU of 2008 to 2013, they've changed tune and said, no, we don't need reforms because we can win rigged elections. We've got strategies to win rigged elections. And they failed to win rigged elections. And these people are failing to take Chamisa and company to task. Now he is reverting back that he's not going to participate in elections without reforms. Why have you been participating all along? The biggest problem here is Zimbabweans themselves. Chamisa is a liar. And people cannot accept that basic reality. They will not accept that Chamisa lied to them. Well, he did. Here is BBC reporter taking Chamisa to task on that very point of lying.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye vakomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza naye vakomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election, $15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Akasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye vakomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe.
We can't keep on going round and round in circles. We have moved on. Chamisa and company are the ones who abandoned reforms because they believed they could win rigged elections. And ever since 2013, they've been telling people they've got strategies of winning rigged elections. We have not taken them to task on that point. And for Chamisa now to turn around and say they're not going to participate in elections without reforms is totally nonsensical. And what is worse, we have heard them say that, and as we get nearer to the elections, they forget about the reforms and they participate again. We can't keep on making the same mistakes over and over again. We need to move on. This point is a non-starter. Chamisa and company must address the issue of why have you been participating in flawed elections under the pretext that you have got strategies of winning rigged elections. Let's take them to task on that point and not allow them to just run rings around us, telling us 1 minute that they want reforms. The next minute they say, oh, we don't need reforms. Let's address the point and get down to it. Do you want to give your closing remarks, Ben? Thank you.
In closing, I would like to say, the buck stops with us at the end of the day. If we decide to protect, those that are in public office or that want public office out of our desperation, then it is our burden to carry. There's no one that we should be blaming at the end of the day when ZANU-PF rigs the elections, because we knew ZANU-PF was going to rig the elections. So it is for us to make the stand, and you are right to say we need to take them to task. Why have you been doing that? Thank you.
So the parting remark is, Chamisa and company cannot tell us they are now going to boycott elections until reforms are implemented, because they are the ones who fail to implement reforms even when they had the chance to do so. And they are the ones who have been participating in these flawed elections, even when they've been warned of the sheer futility of doing so. They are just running rings around us. I think we need to make a firm stand and not be so gullible to accept whatever Chamisa says. Chamisa needs to account to the people of Zimbabwe, to admit to the people of Zimbabwe that he conned the people to participate in 2023 elections under a false lie that he had plugged the vote rigging loopholes. Chamisa is a liar. This is what we need him to admit publicly, and those who support him, they need to admit to themselves too that Chamisa is a liar. We can't keep on going round and round in circles. Thank you very much, Ben. And to the listeners, thank you for joining us. Have a good night. Hope we'll see you again tomorrow, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good day.